Okay, welcome to our first in a series of webinars and seminars that will be a regular thing for Hendricks Wealth and Estate Management going forward. But this is the first in our series, and our first webinar is going to be entitled The Top 10 Reasons to Hire a Financial Advisor. My name is Jim Hendricks. I'm the owner and CEO of Hendricks Wealth and Estate Management. You're going to hear briefly from all members of our team today since this is our first in our series of webinars. We're going to have everybody speak today. Normally, we'll be doing these about once a week, and you'll have a different host from our team every week going forward. But for starters, today we're going to have every single member of the team introduce themselves briefly, and then after we do the introductions, we will get on to the top 10 reasons to hire a financial advisor as our primary and first thing that we're going to be talking about here in our series of webinars. Um, we're going to have some time at the end for questions and answers. We're going to try to take only about a half an hour of your time every time we do one of these. We are doing these at lunchtime as to hopefully not intrude too much on your day, but hopefully give you something worthwhile that you can take back with you and learn about the financial services industry and hopefully have some tips that you can apply to your own personal financial lives as well. So without further ado, let's start getting into our presentation today. And we're going to start by introducing our entire team. In this picture, you see what was our entire team a couple weeks ago. We have one new hire that we've added since then. That is also a picture taken from the front of our old office location in West Dundee. We currently have a main new office location in Algonquin, Illinois. We also have a branch office in Bradenton, Florida, as well. And you'll meet the person today that runs that office down in Bradenton for us. We do have our new office here in Algonquin as of last week, so this is our first full week. So in the near future, we'll be updated with photos of our new offices, but for now, there you see us all smiling and happy in front of our old West Dundee office. Let's get going with introductions, and we'll have Sean start us off.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sean Hendricks. I am a financial advisor in addition to being a licensed attorney and our chief compliance officer. I've also been successfully annoying Jim for 47 years. Don't let him fool you. I'm the younger brother. But I've been a licensed financial advisor and licensed attorney. I've been practicing. I help clients with on several fronts in that regard, both with financial advising and helping them with estate plans. I currently live in Genoa, Illinois. I spend most of my time with my kids and my dogs when I'm not here at work, and I'm looking forward to helping as many folks as I can.
Okay, thanks, Sean. I'm surprised. It's only been 47 years. Seems like it's been a lot longer than that. All right. Next up, we've got Jim Madel.
Hello, everyone. Jim Madel. I've been a financial advisor with Hendricks Wealth and Estate Management for about 4.5 years now. Made a career change at the age of 50. Came over to do this from being in the marketing field. Thoroughly love what I do here. Love helping clients and getting them prepared for and into and through retirement. So look forward to speaking with some of you in the future.
And next up, we've got Chris Beisner. It even seemed like a little bit like an award show, but Chris couldn't be here for this meeting today, so I'll speak on his behalf. Chris is off at a client meeting right now, but Chris joined us fairly recently, just about 5 months ago. And I've known Chris for many, many years, as I have for most of the people on our staff. But I met Chris about 30 years ago. We both worked for a company called Square D that was headquartered in Palatine, Illinois, and we struck up a friendship. Chris actually became a client of our firm for many, many, many years. And Chris was looking for a career change, and we offered him a chance to help work with clients. Chris is also a community liaison for us, kind of a feel-good officer, try to get our name out in the community a little bit, and also a goodwill ambassador. So Chris is taking on some charitable endeavors to kind of do some good in our company's name out there in the community. And he also does have his own book of clients that he's serving as well. So he's a nice addition to the team. Again, he couldn't be here today because he's finishing up a meeting, but it's definitely great to have Chris on board. And Chris is just a really nice guy too. So he's a nice real fit within our organization. Next, we've got Tom.
Hey everybody, my name is Tom Anderson. I'm one of the newer members here. I joined back in April to Hendrix. I've known Jim for a while. I originally went to school for physics where I taught for a couple years, but decided to make a career change and have loved it ever since. I work out of the Bradenton office. I run that office down here and I'm loving it ever since. Thank you guys.
All right. And I've known Tom since he was much too young to be a financial advisor. So I've known him for more than a decade as well. And Nanette is our primary office manager. If people open up accounts or have any administrative things they have to do with our firm, they get to know Nanette really well. She's not available to speak here during this presentation, but Nanette's been with us since 2007. So she's been working with me for almost 20 years now, about 18 years. And one interesting note that I'll add here while I'm talking about Nanette, I know it seems like we've got a lot of new people here, and we do. We're up to 8 people on staff now, but anybody who has ever worked for our firm still works for our firm right now. We've never lost anybody, knock on wood, and I hope to keep it that way for hopefully many, many, many more years. But Nanette was the first person who came in to work with us. She started working with me for about 6 hours a week when I decided I needed help to start just doing the paperwork that was involved in opening accounts. Back in those days, we had to fax account opening paperwork back and forth. Now we run an entirely paperless office, and Nanette helped us establish that. Nanette does have her securities license, so she can help clients buy and sell in and out of securities. She doesn't do any planning work, but she can help us with just about anything we need on the administrative front, which can include things like freeing up client cash by making trades and such. So she's definitely been a big asset, and everybody likes Nanette. I don't think anybody's ever complained about her ever the whole time we've been working here, and again, just a very, very good asset to the firm. And then we've also got Ashley Casey, who also, she's not going to be speaking here during this, but she's our office manager. Somebody has to stay on the phones during this meeting, and Ash is out manning the phones at the front desk, but she'll be the first face you see when you walk into our Algonquin, Illinois office. And she was a server at a pizza establishment, and when we brought her on board, we had interviewed several candidates, and it seemed like every candidate was better than the prior one. And before we interviewed Ash, we thought we had the person we were going to offer her position to all set up. And we said, well, let's interview Ash just in case. We'll see if she knocks our socks off. And she did. She knocked our socks off. And what a great addition she's been. She came in. She fit the culture here really, really well. She's very good at dealing with people. She's very responsive, and she just does a very, very, very good job as your first point of contact, hopefully making you feel welcome. And we're really, really happy to have Ash here too. So, and then last but not least, Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
Hello, everybody. My name is Daniel Leitner. I don't know if you can see me or not, but I am the newest addition to Hendrix Wealth and Estate Management. I began on September 1st, actually, 2025. Before that, I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2022 with majors in finance and real estate. I took on a role out of college at Uline. They do industrial packaging and shipping, where I became a financial analyst and got to plan sales by day for the entire company. Then I had the opportunity to come work for a local entrepreneur and understand investments in all sorts of different realms, including the stock market, real estate, and startup companies. And since that relationship kind of pushed me into going along with Hendrix, and I haven't looked back since.
Okay, and we're really happy to have Dan along. Dan actually doesn't have his license yet. On your screen, you'll see a financial advisor trainee there, but he'll be taking his test in just a couple short weeks, and we're very confident that he's going to pass that exam. And then once that happens, he'll be working with his own set of clients as well. So that's a quick introduction to the rest of the staff. I'm Jim Hendrix. I talked a little bit about myself earlier. I've been in this industry since 2002. I started working for a large wirehouse back in 2002. After 2 years of that, being forced to wear a shirt and tie to work every day and having two bosses that both were kind of putting pressure on me to build commission for the company on a day in and day out basis, I decided I'd rather do things and be more of a relationship builder long term. And I decided to start my own firm. I had some help from a sales coach I was working with back then and decided to start my own firm. Best thing I ever did. So in 2004, we opened the doors to what is now Hendrix Wealth and Estate Management. And hopefully that's the last time we ever make a major career change like that. I don't foresee myself ever being offered a position to play first base for the Cubs. So I think I'm stuck with this for the rest of my career. But what a great career it's been so far, and hopefully there's a good long while left. And again, we're all about trying to help people as best we can. And there's a very important ingredient that I'm going to touch on a little bit later when we hired all these people that you just got introduced to. And the most important thing to me is that we don't come across as being self-serving or greedy or trying to get you to do business because it's in our interest to do so. We are highly, highly, highly interested, and I want people to have it kind of in their DNA in order to be able to work here, to be customer service or service people first. And that's one of the main qualities that I'm looking for. And every single one of the people that just spoke with you definitely carries that quality with them. They wear it on their sleeve. They kind of just exude that. And that's the primary thing that we're looking for. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But now let's get on to the main topic of today's conversation, which is the top 10 advantages of working with a financial advisor. And this one's kind of, if there's an obvious one, this is the obvious one. This is the one that you kind of probably expected to see on this list, and that is investment management and investment screening. This is really one of the biggest areas that where do-it-yourselfers or people invest on their own make mistakes. There is a tendency to chase returns. So a lot of times we'll see this when people are picking their 401k plans or their 401k funds at their workplace. They'll look whichever one has the best returns in the last year, and they'll buy that one, and they'll over-allocate to that one. Also, we commonly see people making mistakes with risk, either being too aggressive or too conservative, or again, chasing last year's returns too much and going too heavily into an asset class that maybe had its day in the sun last year and therefore is a little less likely to have its day in the sun this year. So that's a pretty common mistake, and people often misunderstand how to properly diversify a portfolio. So working with an advisor can definitely help you properly make sure you've got a proper construction out of all of your assets that are working for you, and it kind of helps avoid getting caught up in kind of the hot stock of the day or tips from like you might get around the water cooler or from a friend or neighbor, something in it like that. So again, it's about just having being able to avoid making mistakes and having professional management and investment screening in your corner. The second thing is strategy implementation. So this kind of falls along with the herd mentality. When we're investing for our clients, we're taking a strategic approach to how we do this. So we're not going on gut feel or what we think might be happening by looking at our crystal ball or reading the tea leaves or anything like that. We've built a good, sound investment strategy. And a lot of times when people come in here, even existing clients will come in here sometimes, and they'll say, well, isn't the market close to an all-time high right now? Or I'm afraid things are going to go down, so shouldn't we make changes? And the answer is almost always, we have a strategic approach to manage your investments. We're not going to try to make a change based on some type of news headline or short-term event or gut feel. We're going to be sticking to that strategy that we've built. It's a good long-term strategy. We're not short-term asset managers. We are lifetime asset managers. And yes, some of these assets have a shorter time horizon on them and we'll manage them accordingly, but we're not making any short-term knee-jerk reactions to anything that's going out actually in the news at all. There may be times where there might be something, an external factor that makes us make a decision this way or that way, but it's very, very rare. And again, almost always our reaction is going to be, let's stick to the long-term strategic plan that we've built together. So that's definitely an advantage of hiring an advisor. Another advantage that people don't generally think about is, this applies mostly to married couples, is a lot of times people in a couple, there's usually one that's a little bit more of a risk taker and one that's a little bit more conservative, or one that's a little more focused on one objective like paying for college for the kids, and one that's more focused on an objective like funding retirement. Well, hiring an advisor can help create a meeting of the minds and can be somebody to bounce these ideas off of and give you what would be in your best interest long term, and can help kind of avoid some of that friction that might be caused by having difference of opinion as to how things should be managed. So we see this all the time. We have clients come sit with us, and even in our meetings, they might not be on the same page with each other. And it's good to just get everybody together, have all parties that are interested in managing the financial household all get together and decide on the strategy that we're going to employ going forward. So that's definitely been a very big factor for some of our clients. One of my clients definitely comes to mind every time I mention this, and they admit that that is the main reason that they work with us, is because they need a mediator between them to help them come off with what we feel will be the best strategy for them. So next on the list here, we have a written fluid plan. And a lot of people just don't make a written financial plan for themselves unless they're working with an advisor. In fact, there are a lot of advisors that don't provide written plans at all. But in our practice, 100% of our clients have a written financial plan, or electronically written financial plan, if nothing else. We use the same template for a financial plan, and we tailor that template to every single one of our clients. It's a nice, easy to understand one-page plan that we built in-house. It is proprietary to our firm, and we really like it, and we feel that our clients really, really like it too. And in general, investors just oftentimes don't know if they've got enough to meet life's objectives, whether that's retirement or college or funding a vacation home or whatever the case might be. And we can take any variable that you have in your financial life and we can basically solve for X. So we can determine when retirement might be attainable based upon your current lifestyle, or we can flip that around. We can say, what kind of lifestyle will you be able to attain if you're going to retire at age 62, no matter what? And then we can tweak that and say, okay, well, what if I retired at 64 or 65? How much am I going to be able to take out of my investment accounts on an annual basis? What type of lifestyle in today's dollars does that afford me? We can calculate how much is likely to be available for next of kin, and we can play with that number too. Some people want to leave a lot for next of kin. Some people want to leave pretty close to zero for next of kin, and we can build that into the plan as well, and we can quantify the steps you need to do in order to be able to make that objective a reality. We can tell people how much they can withdraw from their investments each year during retirement. We can also say how lifestyle will be affected by changes in different variables like rates of return or inflation, changes to Social Security, which is actually going to be a topic of an upcoming webinar in this same series. We can factor in pensions, Medicare, or really any other variable that comes into your retirement picture. We can account for all of those within our single one-page financial plan that usually only takes us about 15 or 20 minutes to put together. And many times we tell people our goal during that meeting is we want this next hour to be the best hour you've ever spent on your finances. That's how we want you to come away from this meeting. We want you to feel like you've just spent the best hour you've ever spent on your finances. And very often we get that exact feedback where people are telling us, you know what, I was a little skeptical, but this really has been the best hour I've ever spent on my finances. And that's really what we're shooting for. Okay, next. This is a big one, emotion management. And this and the next slide kind of tie pretty well together. But emotion management, investing carries a natural attachment to emotion. And the top two emotions that come into play are fear and greed. And it is my opinion, and it is most professional advisors' opinions, that when it comes to investing, you need to keep your emotions in check. But that's very, very, very difficult to do when you're managing your own investments. And the best way to manage that emotion is to have professional help, have a professional third party that helps you manage your investments. It's not just fear and greed, but a lot of times fear and greed are the driving emotions. Fear of a crash might keep you from taking risk in your portfolio, or greed or feeling like you're missing the boat might make you want to get into an investment when maybe it's too late, or maybe that's not the right investment for you. But other emotions can certainly come into play as well. Things like nervousness, anxiety, anger, eagerness, stress, or feeling overwhelmed. A lot of times people will plan to manage their own investments, and they'll get home from work. It'll be 7 o'clock. They'll have dinner. And then they just won't feel like they can sit down and adequately pay attention to their investments like they need to. So a lot of people, when they're planning to manage their own investments, it kind of becomes the last thing in their life that they pay attention to, and they're stressed out knowing that they really should be paying more attention. So we can help avoid stress and then also confusion. There's a lot of moving parts in particularly the legislative landscape when it comes to investments. So, and one of our topics of another seminar coming up is going to be how the big beautiful bill has affected investing and certain rules and such. So we'll be talking about that, and we can help manage that for people as well. So basically, emotions just in general are not good when it comes to managing your investments, and it's very important to be strategic and keep your eye on the long-term prize and not let these little bubble ups of emotions or news events or market movements or regulations or anything really drive too much of your strategy. And you want to stick with the plan, and an advisor can certainly help you stick with that plan. Next up, this ties into the emotions. This is actually a term that has been studied. It's called the behavior gap. And what the behavior gap is a way to quantify the result of bad decisions that are tied to emotional involvement regarding your investments. So Morningstar, which is a company headquartered in Chicago, that their main job is to, I guess, kind of be a report card for many investments that are out there. And then also they have a lot of analysts that study the investment landscape and come out with reports on how investors are doing versus how their investments are doing. And what they found is that the average dollar invested in mutual funds and ETFs earned around 7% per year for the decade ending at the end of 2024, compared to the overall performance of 8.2% for the funds that they were invested in. So the investors only earned 7%, but the funds earned 8.2. How is that possible? The answer is because investors were so emotionally invested that they were getting in and out at the wrong times. So if they would have just bought in and stayed in for the entire decade, they would have had an 8.2% rate of return. But because of this behavior gap and because of emotions that get involved in, again, anything, just the fact that you're investing and might have gains or losses, or because of elections or any other news event that you might want to pick, that can be COVID. It could be it could be anything. It could be, I mean, it could be wars breaking out in a different part of the globe. It could be gold prices. It could be inflation. It could be lots of things. And it has been lots of things over the last several years. But again, it's best to just stick with your strategy. And there's a kind of the advisors, a site called Kitces.com. And they found that Morningstar's research into this behavior gap suggests that a very valuable role for an advisor that most people don't even realize exists, and it actually could make up for more than the fees that the investor charges alone. In fact, almost a very small percentage of our clients even pay 1.2%. Only the smallest of account balances pay 1.2% in our practice. So most of our clients are paying less than 1.2%. And you can see that the behavior gap has caused a 1.2% difference in investor returns versus what the underlying investments have actually made. So again, it's best to stay the course with your investments, and an advisor can certainly help you do that. All right, on to the next slide. There will be time for questions as I'm done. We're going to be wrapping these slides up here pretty soon, so we'll take questions at the end. But there are other advantages of working with us, and one big thing is tax efficiency. So many people don't know whether they should be doing traditional or Roth contributions into their retirement plans, or whether they should be doing IRAs, or whether they can do IRAs. They don't know how to best plan their withdrawals when they get to retirement age. If you have 3 different types of accounts, an IRA, a Roth IRA, and a non-IRA account, what's known as a non-qualified account, how do you know which of those you should take out of and how much during retirement in order to make your withdrawal strategy tax efficient? And a good advisor can certainly help do that. The way you designate your beneficiaries, if you have 2 kids, there's a really good chance that you shouldn't just make them 50% beneficiaries of everything. You might want to leave them as equal beneficiaries, and we certainly help people do that. But there's often a more tax efficient way than just making all of your accounts 50-50. And that's actually a very big thing that we're focusing on quite a bit in our practice these days. We can help with charitable giving. We can help business owners. Even if you're a 1099 employee, if you're an independent contractor, you could have a qualified retirement plan and lower today's tax bills by opening up a very simple to open up. In fact, one is actually called a simple IRA. We can help people open those types of accounts. And then also we can help keep up with statutory and legal changes. I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but we've got the big beautiful bill that's come out this year that it kind of pays to know what the provisions are there and what changes have been made and what things you might be able to do to benefit your own financial life by knowing what's going on in those. We had the Secure Act in 2019 that changed quite a bit about beneficiary designations and about required minimum distributions that are required out of IRAs. We had the Secure Act in 2022. There are many things that are changed for inflation on an annual basis. So we have annual limit changes, and even things like college planning have had several rule changes over the last several years. And when you employ an advisor, it's kind of an automatic way to help keep you up to speed with all the regulatory changes that have come down recently. All right, and then we also help with all financial decisions. We're not just about managing investments, but we'll help you decide whether it's better for you to buy or lease a car, buy or rent a home, whether or not you should make accelerated mortgage payments. That's actually a really big one, and a lot of times the answer surprises people. Whoops, sorry about that. And how to finance large purchases, whether to take a lump sum or annuitize payments on pensions, things like that. And then also how to handle large sums of money, like an inheritance, a legal settlement, any awards you might have received or bonuses, or if you've had a large asset sale, what you should be doing with the proceeds of that asset sale. A financial advisor can certainly help make prudent decisions there as well. And then finally, for the 10th thing, is we've got items that specifically relate to our firm. First of all, you have access to a certified financial planner practitioner. I am a CFP in the practice, so if you want to know that you have access to a CFP, we certainly check that box. Most of our advisors have finance and tax backgrounds. I personally had a tax background before I started doing this for a living. My career started in 1994. Chris Beisner has a tax background. Tom has a finance background. Dan has a finance background. So, and all of us, I brought us in because we have a heart of a teacher. Some of you have been working with us for a long time. You know that I was a Dave Ramsey guy for a long time, still am, not officially, but unofficially. What Dave Ramsey wants in his advisors is that they have a heart of a teacher, and I want every single one of us that works in our firm to have the heart of a teacher. In fact, Tom actually was a teacher for a little while. So, and then we also have an advisor who's a licensed attorney, and Sean. We have 3 notaries on our staff. We have extremely stringent hiring practices, and I alluded to this one earlier, but most importantly, I want people to wear on their sleeve that they are not interested in lining their own pockets and that they are genuinely interested in helping clients make their best long-term financial decisions. The word fiduciary gets thrown about in our industry. We take that very, very seriously. Fiduciary means we are contractually obligated to be working in your own best interest. We almost want that to go without saying just when you meet us. Again, I want my employees to wear this trait on their sleeve very outwardly. And you know, when you sit down with one of our advisors, you know somebody really has a genuine interest in wanting to help you. That goes along with being friendly, willing to listen, explain things in common and personable terms. We try to be much more of a Main Street firm than a Wall Street firm. When you come in here, we're not dressed in shirt and ties. None of us are dressed in shirt and ties right now. And again, we are fiduciaries. We don't have any commissions. And we do have a licensed office manager in Nanette too. So she's licensed to do trades. So that certainly helps us out in running the practice as well. So again, we're very, very stringent about hiring practice. Also, as an aside, when we're hiring, we have very stringent drug testing too. We do much higher than industry standard drug testing. So we're very, very stringent about those things. So very, very stringent hiring practices. Okay, we're going to open up for questions. I don't know if we have any questions here. It doesn't look as though we do. We've been putting this out on Facebook Live. If you are watching on Facebook Live, I don't think you can ask questions within Facebook. But if you leave a comment there, somebody on our team will get back to you if you've been watching on Facebook Live. And let's see.
And if you do have any questions, down at the bottom of your screen, there's a little Q&A box. You can click on that. If you have a question to ask us, just click that Q&A box and type in, and we'll answer it live or get back to you later on.
Okay. And again, we promise to try to take no more than a half an hour of your time, and it looks like we're at 29 minutes and 40 seconds right now. So we've kind of come pretty close on that. If there are no questions, we'll wrap this up, but be on the lookout. We're going to be doing these once a week. They'll be available on Facebook. They'll eventually be available on YouTube. We're going to archive them on our website, which is hendrickswealth.com. And there you can see our phone number on your screen, 847-428-3997. Thanks for being here, and we look forward to hopefully hearing more from you in the future. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.